Hello, my name is Callum, I work at Square Systems, and today I'll present a few examples of custom solutions we've developed for Visio automation. These solutions have been designed for users who want to get more out of Visio diagrams while reducing the work needed to produce and maintain diagrams. The first example of our custom solutions I'll show you is this diagram here, where we have shown a data flow. Often when doing data flow diagrams, you will show different flows and resilience and compare the differences. What we've done with this diagram here is we've put on this flow and all its resiliences, but we've assigned each flow to different layers, and we activate these layers with these checkboxes we've inserted here. So if I click this here, we'll see a scenario where one component has failed, and if I select another checkbox, we'll see a different scenario where it takes a different route. We also have the option of putting on different flows entirely, so whereas the previous one was going over user access, this one could be a virtual desktop restore, just so we can reuse the components of this diagram and tailor it to different views on one diagram. The checkboxes on the diagram are useful for single-use diagrams. However, when reusing diagrams, and particularly with diagrams that use background pages, a different solution is needed. I have here a data center floor plan, and we've used a common Visio technique where we've used the background pages to put our floor tiles and our walls on. So I'll switch to that page. You'll see that this is where we select and change the floor tiles and the floor plan, but the cabinets are on this page with the other one as a background page. Between these pages, I've got a page I've called Computer Room Layers, and this is all the things that I want on the floor plan, but I may not want to interact with the floor tiles or the wall. So if I go to this first page again, and I load our layer selector, and I select the layers page, these are all the layers I've put on, and on this front page, I can turn these layers on and off. If I turn these on, you can see there's a lot that's been contained in this diagram for different views and for different users. And if I wanted to change any of those without this solution, I'd first have to go to that page, lose my context of where the cabinets are, go up to the home and then into the layers and then layer properties, and then I decide which one is visible. And it's only after I click apply that I can see the result. Whereas with this computer room cabinets, it's a bit more user friendly. You can stay on this first page without trying to navigate. And once you select your page, you can see instantly what is it that I'm getting with the final result of this diagram. This is just a simple UI that lets you tailor this diagram to multiple views and reuse it across teams quite easily without too much trouble. Representing multiple views while making a complex dataset simple to consume is possible within Visio. Visio has an inbuilt feature called Shape Data, where values are associated with data fields for each of the cabinets in this diagram. And we can reveal this if we go to the Data tab, which is only available in the professional version of Visio. And we go to the Shape Data window and click on one of the cabinets. We can see all this data associated with it. So we can see this cabinet name is 0106, there's a height of 48U, and we have 15U used within this cabinet. And if we go to the next cabinet along, we can see this one's called 0107, it's a height of 48, and it's got 29U used. However, going through the cabinets and reading the shape data off individually like this doesn't make it quite so user-friendly. And not so many people are familiar with shape data in Visio in the first place. Fortunately, Visio has data graphics that can pull this data out and display it on the page as text, colors, and icons to summarize much of the data. Similar to how we assigned different checkboxes to layers earlier, we have assigned different data graphics to radio buttons for the end user. So if I go down here, and with one diagram, I can get a view of the data center from a power feed status. I can summarize the used space, right there as a static number, or I can have it as a specific percentile number, such as 90% or 2%. I can also get a quick summarized view of the functions in the cabinets. So I can understand at a glance, these are all server racks, these are storage racks up here, and on the end we have network racks. It just makes it a bit simpler to understand a complex diagram and environment for different users. For our next example, I have here a network diagram of switches, switch chassis, firewalls, routers, and network termination units, or NTUs. I pre-populated this diagram with different data graphics for different purposes, but what I want to do here is I want to use different data graphics for different shapes. So whereas before I was applying one data graphic to the whole diagram, I want to apply one data graphic to switches and a different data graphic to firewalls. There's no easy way of doing that other than selecting the specific shapes I want to do, going up to the data tab, and then selecting the data graphic I want, and then going to a different set of shapes, going to the data tab, and then selecting the data graphic I want for those. It just gets a bit inconvenient to do this on very large and complex diagrams. So we've created a little UI where we can apply this to a diagram at once, and we've called this visual data sets. And here we have different presets of data graphics. So if I go to suppliers and models, and I check the configuration, we can see switches and switch chassis. We have a data graphic we've called asset and supplier, whereas routers and firewalls, we have a data graphic called manufacturer and model. So if I zoom in and I look at our firewalls and our switches, we can see we have BT as a supplier here, but we have our firewall here where Nokia is the manufacturer and this IP1260 is the model. Alternatively, if I'm a different person or a different team and I'm more concerned about incoming circuits, I'll just zoom out so you can see the change. And I click this and we go to configuration. You can see routers and firewalls were showing the IP address, but NTUs, we have circuit information, and I'm not concerned with switches or switch chassis, so we've turned those data graphics off and we've hidden the shape name. And if we look at our NTU, we can see that we have circuit information, the speed, and who the supplier of that circuit is, as well as the IP addresses for routers and firewalls. This has meant that this diagram can be tailored to specific needs and technologies and be reused across teams that may be concerned with one bit of information but not the other, but is the same network both teams are using. For the final example of our custom solutions I'll show in this video, I'll be concerning myself with the data redactor. Visio is often used to share information between teams, and that's often not compatible with some business policies as there are strict controls over the flow of information in and out of a business. One of the issues that is brought up is the inclusion of shaped data. A real example of this is the IP addresses being embedded into a diagram as part of the design, and that diagram is then needed to be handed over as a build document to a third-party contractor. And removing shaped data from shapes is a tedious effort, especially in diagrams with lots of shapes and lots of pages. As an example, I want to remove the IP addresses from this diagram, and if I go to the shaped data window and I look at the IP address, it's 10.0.25.9. I then do that backspace and I close down. And then I have to do that on the next shape. Click in there, backspace, go down. And there are 3 switches on this page, but there are over 30 pages in this diagram. Now this is a repetitive task, so it's one of the tasks that is prime for automation, and we've developed a little UI we call the data redactor. It just makes it a bit easier to do this en masse in large diagrams where you need to do something like this and remove the shape data. Okay, so this UI has searched through the entire diagram and compiled all the shaped data fields that are possible within it. And if we look down for our IP address, which is here, we select it and we decide to remove the selected shaped data. We'll go through the diagram and delete all those fields. So whereas before we left shaped data in here but it was left blank, here we have no IP address field at all. And to prove the point, if we take the management IP address, which is just underneath memory and is in more of these shapes, and we want to remove that shape data, I'll reload the UI and remove it. So I search for management IP address, which is here. I select it, and we can see this happen in real time. If I select this shape, I go to management IP address and I remove it. Yes, you can see it's been removed. If we want to remove all the shape data in this diagram, I just select everything and delete. And that's been deleted. I can see if I select any of these shapes now, there's no shape data within them. And this has removed all the shape data in the diagram and reduced a lot of time that I would have taken to remove that shape data in the first place. If you are interested in any of the solutions I've demonstrated today, or think we can develop one for you that may help with any of the points I've listed here, feel free to go to our Contact Us page and tick the Services checkbox. Thank you for watching this Square Mile Systems video.